Hello and welcome to another edition of Thoughtful Leaders. Today we have with us Dr. Bhavani. She's the principal at Surana College and she has huge experience of 22 years in the field of teaching and research. She's also been a part of Seshadripuram College and Nagarjuna College of Engineering, Yelahanka. It's an honor to have you on board, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. So, we have a lot of questions prepared for you. Without further delay, let's jump on to the questionnaire. So, ma'am, you've held key positions at education institutes throughout your professional career. What are the key factors that keep you connected with the education sector?
Basically, teaching has always been my passion. And I have always wanted to be in an industry where I see a lot of youngsters grow and bloom into the careers of their choice. So we have been really associated and had a great sense of commitment in terms of growing these youngsters into responsible and valuable graduates into the society. So this young generation always keeps us very creative. And so we always remain young at heart. And we also tend to learn along with them. The best example is during the pandemic, in fact, they know things better than us. They, in fact, help our teachers to onboard well into the online teaching process. So it's going to be a win-win and learning on both ways that happens in this industry. And most people have this misconception that education industry is not as vibrant as other industries. And it's totally a myth. Because this industry is as vibrant because we are into producing young minds. We fine-tune them, we hone their skills up, and we actually fine-tune their whole thought process to make sure that they are more valuable and they give back to the society in different formats to this country. So honestly, if I have to wrap it up in one line, I would say we are actually very happy to be a part of the growth strategy of the country.
Well, that sounds great, to be the growth strategy of the country. That you made it sound really great. So moving on to the next question. Being the principal at Surana College, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
See, I am basically a very agile leader. I believe in agile leadership to a large extent, which typically means that we believe in inclusivity in the campus. We believe in having a democratic style of work. And as a principal and as a leader, I'm extremely open to ideas and innovation coming from any formats in any ways. So that's my style of leadership because I don't believe that only one person has the best mindset. The mindsets are coming from everywhere. It could be a security guard who tells us that this could be the best way to do things. So that's my leadership style. And I believe in a very matrix kind of work structures, which typically means that for different purposes, different teams come together, we put our heads, come out with the best ideas, and we implement that and move forward. Apart from that, I'm also very keen on capacity building because wherever I have worked, I have ensured that the second line is always ready. So that second line typically takes care of a lot of decisions. So we actually believe, and I'm a strong believer, that education industry has to work as well or as in the same lines as a corporate. So there is no difference between them and us. In fact, we have to be more on our foot or fingertips all the time because things are changing quite fast around us too. So we believe that as a leader, I should be very transparent in my approach. Delegation of work is a priority to me, but delegation of responsibility will happen with utmost authority also. So there is going to be both authority and responsibility given to my colleagues in order to make sure that they are able to work in their freestyle. So freedom of work is another thing that I really give too much of importance to because that's how I work.
That's really wonderful, ma'am. Taking everyone together and growing together, everyone together and all that. That sounds really great. So now moving on to the next question. Being the principal at Surana College, how do you strategize about the key programs and plans for the marketing and administration of your institute?
See, every program at Surana College has a hallmark. That means every program has a set of parameters that describes the program outcomes very meticulously. So we try to define if a student has to graduate out of, say, commerce or humanities, what is the program outcome that I want him to be at the end of these 3 years program? And we work towards achieving that. And that's something what I feel is at the core of Surana College. And every program, whether it is commerce, management, computer science, pure science, or humanities, we have been making sure that it gets imbibed with academic rigor, the industry interface, research, as well as skill enhancement. And when we talk about the admission and administration part of it, we're very fortunate to have great student ambassadors. In fact, we have never struggled for admissions all through. And fortunately, we have never suffered a dip in admissions even during this pandemic. So that talks a lot about the kind of quality that Surana College has been providing and delivering to the student community.
Also, ma'am, can you elaborate a little bit about the student ambassadors that you spoke about just now and how they play an important role?
See, student ambassadors are typically students who carry good thoughts about the institution. In marketing terminologies, you call it as word of mouth. And for me, this word of mouth is going to happen when the child is extremely happy with the kind of the teaching fraternity, with the kind of liberty that he has to explore his hobbies, to explore his creative mindset, explore his entrepreneurial mindset. A lot of things goes into a student life, because I always tell my students that many of us have this misconception that 10th is a turning point and 12th is a turning point. If you ask me, it is this graduation that's the turning point, because it defines what you're going to be doing in the next 30, 40 years of your life. So we believe in providing students with basket options. So we don't make it anything mandatory, because we believe each child is unique. So the college as such has a lot of possibilities that they can explore. So you blend academics with research, blend it with internships, you blend it with theater, music, drama, or for that matter, sports. So you have every single possibility. So what happens is, the idea of Surana College is that the student has to enjoy his stay in campus. And whichever facet that you see in the campus, you see that the students are predominantly happy being where they are. And that's what makes them my brand ambassadors.
That's good to hear. That's really great. So moving on to the next question. The education systems in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently, right? So in your experience, what can an inbound student gain from studying here in Surana College?
Yeah. See, when you look at education abroad, there are three parameters that you see doing differently. One is that students have a self-paced learning. Number two, it is a research-based curriculum. Number three, there is an industry internship. These are the three defining characteristics of any university abroad. So when you go talk to a student abroad, the most important thing is the student is seemingly free through the day, because the classes are happening at different points in time. The students are allowed to learn at their own pace. And the students are actually involved a lot into research, because without a research dissertation, no student will be given any degree of any sorts. Now, this happens also through an industry internship. That means there's a lot of integration that happens with the industry that makes the program extremely lively, viable, and more meaningful. Now, if I have to look back at Surana College and what we are doing in that terms, any inbound student at campus can have a similar exposure. For examples, we have a lot of collaborations with foreign university as well as industry. Now, this allows our students to gain that kind of exposure into research. A lot of faculty and student research happen. Many of our students are engaged into publications also. Journal publications do happen. So engagement into research is high. We also have research in terms of providing them internships. So the industry integration is also happening. So our collaboration with industry is helping the students utilize their time more meaningfully, either between the semesters or even after the college hours. The students are engaged with them. So that is about the second thing. The last thing is about the self-paced learning. Now, when I talk about self-paced learning, we normally come across at least about 20 to 30% of our students who are advanced learners. That means they're not satisfied with whatever is being taught to them based on the curriculum. So we have an NPTEL center which allows them to take up high-end or a little upgraded versions of similar courses that they are studying. So that also helps them in additional certification programs. So in all these three parameters that I spoke about, that is self-paced learning, then research-based curriculum, as well as industry internship, we have been able to try to imbibe that into our collegiate system.
That's great, ma'am. Outcome-based and skill-based learning is actually truly the need of the hour, making students industry ready and all. Yes, that's wonderful. So moving on to the next question. How does the curriculum of Surana College ensure the best practices of the industry? Now that we heard about how you guys are ensuring industry-based and skill-based learning, how does the curriculum ensure the best practices of the industry?
At Surana College, we have a fantastic academic council, which comprises of people from the alumni, from the industry, as well as from the academia. Now, this robust team meets very often, and they try to help us to identify the lacuna or the gaps that exist in the university-based curriculum. Because we are an affiliated college, so there are possibilities that there could be some areas which haven't been dealt with by the university because the curriculum gets changed only once in 2 years or 3 years. And in between, we might have a necessity to upgrade the course or bring in some additional programs that are more relevant to the industry at that moment. So therefore, what happens is our alumni mentors actually help us to understand what are those additional add-on or courses or value-added courses that needs to be integrated into the system. And therefore, apart from the curriculum teaching, our teachers also engage in providing them that need of the hour industry-oriented courses, industry-oriented curriculum that can help them to get themselves upgraded and keep themselves abreast with what's happening in the industry.
Wonderful, that's great, ma'am. So, ma'am, any insights into how your university institute could be more welcoming to students of different races or economic backgrounds?
Yeah. See, as a college, it is a purely private trust in the sense it's a completely not-for-profit organization. Now, this helps us to provide a lot of leverage to students who come from economically backward classes, as well as people coming from different races. Now, I'm very happy to say that we have both faculty and students coming from all parts of the country. So we have every single, part of the state being represented in our college. And this is very evident when you look into our college fests and our annual days. You will see a lot of culture being generated and a lot of culture being shared between each other. So that's one thing that I see, that there's a lot of inclusivity in the campus. So we are not worried about which race a student comes from which part of the society you come from. What's important is, are you interested in learning or not? That's what is the major differentiating factor for us. With respect to the economic background, not only are we providing them with scholarships which are sponsored by the government and other agencies, we do help them a lot in identifying scholarships which are very relevant to them. We also have a lot of in-house merit cum means scholarship. Now, when you enter into the campus during an admission season, my colleagues actually help the student understand, even if the child does not ask for a scholarship, we do ask them, because based on their marks or based on their economic background, we are giving them a lot of scholarship, even up to 60-70% scholarships are being given to them. Secondly, you will see that there is a special quota meant for students every year we give scholarships to about 150 sports students in the campus. Now, these 150 sports students come from everywhere. Sports Authority of India, we have representations at the state, national levels. We are actually giving a lot of impetus to about 15 different varieties of sports in college. So we have students representing every one of these aspects. And I'm very happy to share with you that we do have a lot of, I would say, differentially abled children in the college. So we do have library facilities with Braille, and we have a lot of teaching material that has been converted into YouTube so that the students can actually listen to it. And one very important thing that I wish to share with you is Miss Meghana, who cleared her UPSC exam recently, was our child of humanities. And she's been with us through the entire, and she's visually impaired. We have ensured that these children are doing extremely well, whatever your category belongs to.
Well, that's very inspiring, ma'am. That's about Mrs. Meghna as well. It's very inspiring, and all thanks to you guys that you have all these facilities, and you have all these facilities that can facilitate the learning of even the visually impaired. So that's wonderful. That's really great. Again, moving on to the next question. What do you think should be the institute's top priority over the next 10 years?
I see 4 quadrants of how the institution will look at itself in the next 10 years. The first one is a complete industry integrated teaching and learning. So that's the first quadrant. The second quadrant is multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research. The third quadrant I'm looking at is creative, innovative mindsets in the entire teaching learning facet. And the fourth one is developing entrepreneurial ecology within the campus. These are the top 4 priorities that I have for myself in the next 10 years for the institution.
That's great. That's great. So moving on to the next question. When you first came to Surana College, what was your vision for the college? Has it evolved over time? And how far along in implementing that vision are you now?
Okay. I'm about half a year old in this college only. But what I have seen is this college has had a legacy of great principals, great visionaries who have taken the spirit of the vision statements laid down by the institution to greater heights. So the legacy that have been left for me is something that I need to carry on forward. And from my perspective, my ideal scenario is that the college should be a learning space for teachers and students in a way that makes education very relevant and very valuable. And this is the heart of the institution. I mean, the research-based curriculum, the research-based output is something which is very, very close to my heart. So evolving has happened in the last couple of years. It's been 25 years of our existence. 2020, we actually celebrated our Silver Jubilee. So over the last 25 years, we have seen that the college has actually successfully achieved a lot of milestones, whether it is an academic or placements or whatever. So this vision is something that I wish to carry because our mission statement says to make sure that we are going to create a great value for the students by co-creating with them. So we make sure that the teachers and the students have a great learning space. That's my vision.
Wonderful. That's great. That's great. So moving on to the next question, ma'am. What would you like people to know about Surana College that they might not know?
Okay. See, at the outset, I would like my work to speak for myself. That's the first thing that I believe in, because how much ever you try to brand yourself, if you don't have the intrinsic value, then you can't do well outside. So we are a college with very rich intrinsic value. And that predominantly showcased through a lot of accolades that we have already received. For example, we are one among the very few colleges which is A plus re-accredited in the recent, to 2019. So we are the one among the very few colleges with A plus, a private college. Then we have been consistently bagging ranks in the university and doing great, even in terms of higher education. We have been bagging ranks everywhere. 3, our placements are extremely good. In fact, we have a lot of placement opportunities for students right after their first year. We allow the students to take on internships and make sure that their final placement is as vibrant as our internship programs. Then lastly, we not only focus on academia, we also give a lot of prominence and allow students to excel in the fields of theatre, music, dance, and a lot of extra and co-curricular activities. Our students have made a name and fame and all over the country and represented the institution everywhere. Also, we have a very, very vibrant NCC, NSS, Rotract, and a student council, which is extremely active in the campus. And just to say this, ASSOCHAM recently awarded us the CSR and NGO Award 2020 as one of the best institutions to have worked during COVID-19. So our students have worked predominantly in, even COVID labs, helping the medical emergencies with CAP facilities. So you will see a lot of vibrancy happening in campus even during this time. So when campuses are not thriving with students, I still see a lot of students in campus, and today's installation ceremony was one of that. Today is our 8th incoming batch of Rotary. And lastly, our sportsmen have achieved laurels throughout the state, national and international. In fact, one of our students is also an Ekalavya awardee. So this is the kind of inputs that we give our students, and this is what many people don't know, because we are one institution which believes that our work should talk for ourselves. So we don't do too much of marketing as such, so many of them might not know, but that's why I said the intrinsic value of the institution is very high.
That's wonderful, ma'am. That's really wonderful. That's really great. And I was really glad to hear about how students are helping out the COVID frontline workers throughout the COVID scenario as well. That was really something great. Moving on to the next question, ma'am. We got to hear a lot of good and great things about Surana. If you can just summarize all these strengths in just a couple of points.
Sure. If I have to focus on what are my strengths, the first one is the academic rigor. We have a fantastic academic rigor in the campus. Number 2, we have a lot of industry-oriented certifications. That's our strength. Number 3, our placements are excellent. The students have umpteen opportunities to take up placements in campus. Number 4, our research output has been excellent. The students and faculty members engage in research work. And 5th, most importantly, we have a very conducive learning environment. And ultimately, that's what the child comes to college for. So you not only have work, but you also play. And that's something which is very important for me as a teacher too.
Great. So moving on to the next question. What are some of the biggest challenges you see now that we've spoke about the strengths, some of the biggest challenges that you see both for higher education and Surana specifically?
Yeah, at a very macro level, if I have to see what is the challenge in higher education, bringing in systemic changes in higher education is a big challenge, because you can no longer go back to teach a child what you taught a child 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Things are very different today. And children are not also moving towards the typical run-on-the-mill programs that we used to see. So a child today also wants to harness their entire set of talents that they have. So they're not going to be happy if you compartmentalize them into one part of it and say, okay, you are a commerce graduate or you are a humanities graduate. For all you know, the challenge that you will see, which national education policy is trying to address, is the concept of the liberal education. Now, this is something which is going to be a challenge at the macro level. At the micro level, also the challenge will be to make every program interdisciplinary in nature. whether it is humanities, science, commerce, management, or computer science. We wish to make every single program of ours interdisciplinary. We are already chugging towards that. In fact, our commerce students do a small program for BCA students on a topic called as finance for non-finance. Because even if you're a commerce graduate or a non-commerce graduate, everybody should know how to manage their finance, how to file taxes. So these are things that we do. So this interdisciplinary, making every program interdisciplinary at Surana College is something that we have taken up with a lot of rigor, and I'm sure we'll do this in the next 1 year's time.
That's truly great, ma'am. All-round learning into life and all. It's really great. So moving on to the next question. The final question, in fact, the golden question. Any suggestions you'd like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students of the country?
Lots of them. The first suggestion or takeaway point that I want to give the youngsters today is learn to focus on your strengths. And this is very critical because most of us try to hover upon our weaknesses. But focusing on our strength and strengthening it further is extremely important for our success. That's the first takeaway. The second thing is convert passion to work. And then work becomes play. Now that typically means you should be happy doing what you're doing. Otherwise you get stuck. You probably get claustrophobic when you start working because that's not what you wanted to do. So know your strengths well. Number 2, have your passion or convert your passion to work, and then work becomes play. The third one is be thirsty for knowledge, because learning new knowledge will always keep you ahead, and that's what is going to be your defining factors when compared to the rest of the others in your same peer team. And the last one is a strong believer there is no shortcut in life. You will have to take the hard route, because I'm a person who believes that it takes an ability to reach the top, but it takes a character to stay there. So, which is why I'm very particular that there is no shortcut in life. You have to work hard, work towards your goal, and be there.
Very well said, ma'am. I can relate to all those points a lot. I'm still learning as well. So, that'll be all, ma'am. That's all the questions we have. I hope a lot of people
Thank you.
And be inspired as much as I am. And it was really an honor having you on board, ma'am. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.